Quotations from myself, Segment 11. Quotation number 137. It is a widely held opinion that the fear of strangers is the fear of the unknown, and therefore potentially dangerous, but against which we feel totally defenseless exactly because it is unknown. Thus, this lack of knowledge creates another even deeper level of fear produced by this feeling of vulnerability and powerlessness. And this brings out anger as a manifestation of frustration caused by the realization of our powerlessness to influence people or events and ultimately to control our own lives. Thus, the absence of knowledge produces fear, and fear leads to anger. The anger toward strangers, not only for being unknown, but also as we sense our inability to comprehend them, for being unknowable. The same kind of anger is often exhibited by a child who, when unable to take the toy apart to find out how it works, smashes it in angry frustration. It is clearly our inability to understand and our frustration caused by this that makes us angry, since for a man, in order to survive, it is absolutely essential to understand and to know. Number 138. In some sense, almost everyone is arrogant, or at least aspiring to be, while looking for a good reason to think so. For being arrogant simply means to feel superior to others and to express it in a more or less overt way. And how many of us can claim in total honesty to be completely free of such feeling at one time or another? This feeling of superiority is derived from the possession, real or imagined, of certain commonly admired qualities, which the others, in our opinion, are having in a lesser degree or lacking them altogether. Thus, one who is beautiful feels superior to one who is less attractive, smart to the less clever, strong to weak, tall to short, healthy to sick, etc. But in addition to that, this feeling of superiority in a certain particular quality, which at least have some objective basis, usually leads to totally unfounded presumption of superiority in universal sense. As for example, when somebody who is stronger than others starts to think that he is also smarter, better looking, etc., and in the world better in general. To repeat, when somebody who is stronger than the other starts to think that he is also smarter, better looking, etc., and in a word, better in general. This is happening because we all have a tendency to see the quality we possess in a larger degree than others as being the most important ones, and also critical to definition of what is the best. At the same time, we are strongly inclined to devalue the qualities we find ourselves to be deficient in, by considering them to be of very little importance in defining what is the best in general. In other words, we constantly exaggerate the overall importance of our own good qualities while minimizing the overall importance of the qualities we are lacking. On the other hand, sometimes our shortcomings are so obvious even to ourselves that we just cannot simply ignore them. The power of self-deception, after all, is not limitless, though the ingenuity and skills with which we can manipulate facts probably are. One of the most common ways we deal with our undeniable deficiency is by being, without realizing it, in a perpetual state of what can be called compensation syndrome. The example of which are the following: I am ugly but smart, poor but beautiful, short but strong, etc. One can see this manifestation of this compensation syndrome running through the popular mythology in the form of such fairy tales as Cinderella, Beauty and the Beast, etc., giving such compensatory pairs as poor but beautiful, ugly but kind, the same kind of legitimacy and almost universal acceptability as to the laws of nature. And it doesn't matter that in reality one can be both poor and ugly, or ugly and cruel, etc. Most of us tend to disregard what seems to be the obvious, that there is no causal connection between being ugly and smart or poor and beautiful. This is connection but a wishful thinking on our part rooted in a deep psychological need to believe in fate justice. In our endless strive for self-acceptance and for respect, if not love by others, we would never admit even to ourselves the lack of at least some of the qualities that should make us deserving the acceptance and love we are so longing for. Number 139. When listening to the others, you have but a single choice, either to believe what they are saying or not. And the sooner you make this choice, the better off you are. Nothing is worse than uncertainty. Number 140. The best dressed guest at masquerade was not the lovely elf, nor charming prince, nor queen of spades, but man dressed as himself. Number 141. The river of my thoughts keeps flowing through my mind and carries in its wake all I had left behind. What had been said and done through all those years of living became a part of me, like threads are parts of weaving. Number 142. Those painful and seemingly indelible childhood memories, would they have stayed with us had they not been continuously reinforced by repetition of similar painful experiences throughout life, since neither we nor the world, especially the way it treats us, ever change. Number 143. Genius does not produce progress. At best, he inspires it, at worst, becomes its sacrificial lamb. The real progress is a collective work of mediocrities, who cannot accept themselves for what they are. Number 144. The common and the most attractive features of all religions, ideology, or other mass movement that capture imagination of millions is the explicit promise to make a nobody somebody, both psychologically and socially, that is, as an individual and as a member of the community. Psychologically, it's catering to the intrinsic vanity of every human being and promises to relieve the burden of inferiority complex. Socially, it's usually sure of the eventual triumph of justice, of fair redistribution of wealth, and political and social equality. That is, the fulfillment of the eternal longing of the powerless and dispossessed. And many who now are lost will be first, declared Jesus. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth, promised he, and Christianity was embraced by millions of the meek. We have been not, we shall be all, are the words from International Revolutionary Workers and Social Hymn, sung for the first time on the barricade of Paris in 1871. Proletariat has nothing to lose but its chain, yet they have the world to win, proclaimed the Communist Manifesto, and millions of workers had adopted socialism as their faith. 145. To agree is to surrender I and to accept you. To question is to oscillate between I and you. To disagree is to assert I and reject you. Let's now substitute student for I and teacher for you. And we will get three basic modes of interaction between a student and teacher which determine the process of education. But this process doesn't take place in a vacuum. The additional factor, one that defines how all three basic modes of interaction operate, is power. That is, who possesses it. It is obvious that the interaction between teacher and student, it is the teacher who possesses the power. As a result, the predominant mode of interaction, as far as student is concerned, is mode 1, to agree, and consequently to surrender I and to accept you. In general, all relationships between people are governed by the above-mentioned three basic modes of interaction taking place in what can be called a power field, created in each case by the specific kind of power play relevant to this particular situation. Number 146. To succeed in any system or institution, it is not enough simply to submit to its rules and norms. One has to do it in a manner that shows eagerness and even enjoyment, making everybody believe that for him it is the most natural and desirable things to do. On the other hand, the one who, while submitting to power, openly displays reluctance and displeasure is doomed, regardless of how well he is doing what is required of him, to failure.